In this module, we will continue our aseptic operation and containment in a fermentation process. As we have already discussed in our previous module that how we can assess the risk involved in fermentation process. So first, when we assessed the level of risk, then we have to give them the category of that organism. So actually there are different categories of containment level. Actually there are 4 different categories of containment level. You can see here that GILSP mean 0 level, 1 level, 2 level and 3rd level. So actually in total number there are 4 risk levels. So if we see our process organisms, so first we have to decide either our organism is non-genetically engineered, either that is genetically modified or GMO. So we have a clear-cut classification into 2 categories. One, non-genetically modified, and other category is genetically modified. So if we say that non-genetically engineered and that is a wild strain, and then that is the pathogens are, so we can either that is pathogen, and then based upon that 8-point criteria described by Colon 1992, so we give the 4 levels. So the containment level, you can easily see that wild type having first 0 category, GILSP, mean good industrial large scale practices are required, first category, second category and third category. But as concerned the genetically modified, that further classified into harmless group 1 and potentially harmful group 2. So then they are further divided into 2 small scale and large scale, mean the fermentation volume, either we are using a lab scale or a pilot scale or an industrial level, the same case of that. So if that is a small scale, in both cases that known as A category. But if there is a large scale, either that belong to the group 1 or belong to the group 2, that goes to the B category. So if that is group 1, that is called as B1 category, but as concerned to large group and potential 2, then that B2, B3 and B4 categories. So by this diagram you can see that how we give different containment levels to our process organism. So if we know that our process organisms and their level of containment, then according to the criteria reported by European Federation of Biotechnology, EFB, that was first reported by Farmer et al. 1989, he designed and he reported a table in which he mentioned clearly the different procedures we have to follow in different categories. So you can see here the 0 category, 1 category, 2 category and 3 category. So these are the procedures, written instructions and code of practices, biosafety manual, good occupational hygiene, good microbiological techniques, biohazard signs, restricted access, accidental reporting. And you can easily see by this, if the sign is positive, mean that is required. If the sign is negative, it means that is not required. So by this table, we can easily find out that according to the containment level, what kind of the precautions and what kind of the procedures we have to adopt to run the fermentation process. In this, you can say that what kind of the necessary procedures we have to take as a primary containment level, in which operation and the equipment. You can see that in a work with viable microorganisms should take place in a closed system, and then the treatment of the exhaust air, sampling in a closed system, and these are the different procedures which we have to take into account while running our fermentation process. So by this you can see that M mean the minimum release and P is prevent release, mean we have to be prevent any kind of the release. But in M case, we can say that if there is a minimum release, we can easily handle that situation. But here you can also see that secondary containment facilities that require during different containment levels. As you can see by this, there are different procedures. Once the organism has been allotted to the hazard group, then the appropriate containment requirement can be applied. So as we have seen in the table, in a primary containment level and a secondary containment procedures according to the Farmer et al. 1989.